Greetings, doll fans! Welcome to the second installment of Rockin' Alpaca Wigs. In this episode, we're going to learn how to make a wig cap, the base of the wig that the hair will be sewn or secured onto. And now I'm going to show you exactly what you'll need to get started. First up, plastic wrap. That's going to protect your doll head. And what I have right here is tulle. That's what I like to make the wig cap out of. I think the tulle just works really well. It really suits me. As for the color, mine is like an off-white, and it's actually like sparkly. Don't worry too much if all you can find is sparkly. I recommend choosing a color that is maybe either the color of your doll head or the color of your hair. That's your preference. I'm not sure which one is better. I tend to select a color that's similar to my doll head because I feel like maybe if it shows, then it will look like the doll's scalp. Now this off-white is kind of ivory color. It's kind of yellowish, and my head is pink. So I don't exactly have like a color that matches him perfectly, and I don't know if there is one. So for now, I'm just using my off-white, and we'll see how it turns out. Some people might like to choose pantyhose, so I've got some right here, but I'm not going to use it. Pantyhose is not my favorite. It is the favorite of a lot of people, but for some reason, I just feel like I like the tulle better. So I'm going to let you experiment on that and decide which one is your favorite. I think the tulle makes a harder wig cap for some reason, and I think the pantyhose makes a really soft kind of wig cap that kind of collapses. And for some reason I kind of like it when it holds its shape really firmly. It'll just hold the shape of the doll head. So, but that's up to you. You pick whatever you think is good. As for pricing, the tulle, don't be afraid to get some tulle. Tulle is super cheap. It'll be cheaper probably than buying a box of pantyhose actually. I think this only cost me like 99 cents a yard, and I bought like 2 yards. So that's like $2. So yeah, tulle is my favorite. And you might want to go ahead and cut your tulle up into little squares. That's what I've got right here. Cut it into little rectangular strips actually. So you might want to do that ahead of time, just so they're ready. And then we have glue, and mine is Mod Podge, and I chose the matte kind. It probably doesn't matter what you choose, but I choose matte because generally people's scalps aren't shiny. So I just picked matte, but it probably really doesn't matter. And then you have like a pair of scissors. That's the next thing you're gonna need. Have that with you. And then a cup of water. And then you're also gonna want a paper towel. These things are for handling the glue. And then you're gonna want a paintbrush too. And here's my paintbrush. I like to use these wide flat kinds. That's for spreading the glue over the wig cap. And then the last thing I would say is some rubber bands. And what I have here is the little rubber bands that are like plastic and clear. That's for securing the plastic wrap over the head. And then like another thing that I would use that I'm not showing right now either is like a bigger hairband for securing the wrap around his neck. And then the clear rubber band goes around the ears. And what you see him on right now is a stand that I made. And I love this stand actually. If you can rig up some kind of stand for your dolls, I would totally recommend that. In fact, if anybody wants to know, I'll show you how I made this stand. But it's just really convenient for rotating the head. You can just spin it like this. You can rotate it around, and it makes wig making a lot more easy. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so here he is with some plastic wrap on his head. And I've got, as you can see, he's got a sponge right here to cushion him from this neck stand. And then I've got it nicely cut right here. So that'll probably help me in shaping the wig cap. And the next part is that here's my rubber band, my little plastic. It's really little, as you can tell. And so what I do here is I stretch it. So give it a good stretch to get it going. Otherwise, they're a little bit stubborn when they get started. And we're going to place it on his head, like so. Just above the ears and running right over the eyes, just to make sure that the plastic is flush around his head. So get your tool ready and get your glue ready and have your water handy. Here's your first length of tool, and we want it to be a really good size. Right now it's kind of wide and long, so I'm going to cut it down again. And now it's about that size. And we're going to lay it over his forehead, and we're going to paint it down with glue, basically. So here's my glue brush. Here's my tool. And be generous. Don't be afraid to just put it right over his eyes or his forehead, and just let it cover a lot of his head, because you're going to trim it back later and make it a better shape later. Just paint it on down there, kind of like paper mache, I guess. This is my favorite way to make a wig cap. And this is one of my favorite steps in making the wig, believe it or not. I just feel like this process just is really fun for my brain, because it utilizes my brain and my hands, and what I really like to do is I love to put like music on, especially like music that I'm not totally familiar with. So I like to put my computer on YouTube and let some music from like a new band I haven't really explored yet. Just let it play a bunch of music I haven't heard before. When you see it bubbling up like that, as you can see, you cut the bubbles and then you paint it down so that the two corners you just made overlap. And that's what makes it lay flush to the head. See, here's another little bubble. I'm going to cut it. Right now my scissors are really big and clunky, so you might want to get some smaller scissors. And then you paint it down, and be very careful, you know. It will move around a lot. It'll want to, because it's practically loose, but once you keep going, it'll start acting better. And then we're going to lay down another piece on top of that. I'm going to lay it right on top of the head. And you notice that I'm going in a sideways motion, side to side. First we're going to put it down side to side, and then we're going to lay another layer over top, and it's going to be going front to back, so that we get a grid pattern, and that's going to increase the strength of the structure that we're creating here. See how it's sticking? It's like sticking straight back like that. We're going to make that lay down just like this. Don't worry about being mathematical or precise in any way. It's just very simple. If you see tool sticking up or bubbling up, just cut and then lay it down, overlap, and paint over. It's very, very simple, and it's not an exact thing. It's not like sewing clothes together or anything. It's just very, very simple. And if you feel like the wig cap looks rough in general, if you think it looks lumpy and stuff, don't worry about that either, because it's going to be covered in hair later. You're not going to see it. I can see the back of his head is still missing a little bit, so we're going to fill that in. And I'm just going to use a small piece. Well, I'll use this piece. And the good thing, if you want to, you can sort of paint down a little bit of paint beforehand, before laying a piece on, so that it will cling to the glue. And then you won't have to worry about too much about it like falling off. Use enough glue to saturate the tool pretty well, but don't worry about like slathering it on in a huge amount, because there's going to be more layers of tool and glue later. It's kind of funny because you want to make it nice and strong with lots of glue, but you don't want to add too much glue because we're going to be putting glue on this thing a lot in the future, and the glue is going to pile up and it's going to get thicker and thicker. So if you feel like this wig cap is kind of weak, or kind of, if it's soft at first, don't worry too much, because there will always be glue later, and it's going to change even as we're sewing the hair on. And I guarantee you will fit differently once the wig is done. It's also sort of a thing that if your first wig cap doesn't quite suit you, if it doesn't quite look right the first time, or if you don't like your workmanship, then that makes a lot of sense, because it's obviously your first try. So don't be afraid or bummed out about making another one once the first one is done, because no matter where you are in the skill, there's always room for improvement, and always there's going to be like trials and errors and do-overs, and that it really has nothing to do with being an amateur or professional. There's always going to be do-overs. Now I'm going to lay one front to back. So basically he's got 2 layers of tulle here. And bring it right down to his eyes. Just worry about covering the whole crown of his head, because we're going to reshape it later and perfect the shape of it. Now we're going to lay some on the sides. He's got one going all the way back like that. Then he's going to have some going on the sides. This is definitely something that you get better at as you go. So, you know, keep trying. If you don't like your first attempt, just keep doing it, and you will tighten up your technique. Your technique will start looking neater, and the next wig cap will come together much better than it did the first time. And I seriously did, I mean, that the exact thing happened to me when I made my first one. I didn't like it, I did it again. And by the time I did the second one, I knew what I was doing, and I knew what my process should be. So you're going to have to figure out your process. And then you can use, once you've designed your own personal process, you can reuse it every time. I see an open space behind his ear right there, and I'm going to fill that in. After a while, you're just going to start looking for spots where maybe it looks weak, or maybe where you forgot to put some, and then you're just going to fill it in. And if you see anything sticking up at all, then you cut it and glue it down. You might want to do some extra special cutting around the ears, so that it lays around the ears neatly. I'm going to double up behind the ear at this point, where I put some before, just to make sure that it's nice and strong everywhere, in all the, especially around the edges. You want the edges to be nice and strong. Alright, I think I've just about got this guy whipped for now. I'm going to give it several hours to dry, probably overnight, just to be sure. And then I will check it out tomorrow, see how it looks, see if I need to make a new one. I think I've pretty much got it covered. Once it's dry and I've got it all set up and got it trimmed, then I can put it back on his head and see how it might fit. And of course, during the wig making process, there are maneuvers that we sometimes might have to do to actually add more tulle to the wig cap, and it might have hair sticking out of it at that point. If you haven't put any hair in yet, then it's always okay to go back and make another wig cap. But if you've got, you know, expensive alpaca hair or some other kind of hair already sewn into it, then it's going to become a salvage job a time or two, and you might have to pull some maneuvers to save it. We don't want to scrap it when we've paid so much for all that hair and worked so hard to wash the hair. That's what I've got for now. I thank you for watching. I will be back in a few hours to continue with this wig cap making process. See you then. Okay, it has been several hours now. It is now the next day, and the next step is that we're going to draw our hairline onto this wig cap. You'll need a pencil, of course. That's all you'll need. Or I wouldn't use a pen, because pencils are more removable just in case maybe some freak thing happens and the doll winds up getting marked. That's why I think a pencil is the most safest. So let's draw the hairline. Let's be a little bit generous about where we put our lines. Let's put it a little bit closer forward, further forward than we would actually want the hairline, because with the way that we do this technique is that the wig cap is going to shrink, because we're going to put a lot of glue at the inside of the wig cap while we're sewing the hair on. So let's kind of be generous. We'll probably wind up changing the lines, moving it. This is where you'll give it whatever shape maybe that you're looking for. As for this guy's hairline, to tell the truth, I really don't know what might be different about his hairline, what would set him aside from my other dolls. He's supposed to be older, so I would make his hairline maybe a little thinner, a little bit more receding, but I don't want it to recede too much, otherwise it won't sit on his head. So I'm just going to give him like a regular stock hairline. I probably could have used more tulle down here. There's an empty spot. It stops right here, and I probably could have come down further. So in some cases, maybe in this case, maybe I should go ahead and add more right here. Right now, while he's still wearing all this plastic. Because I can't go down further than that. I'm stuck. And then I can't really go down very far past here either. So as you can see, I probably could have done a better job on the wig cap. And I might have to do it again. Just as I told you last time. Okay, and I'm also going to want to sort of like just look at it from all angles and try to make sure it's symmetrical. I'm just going to go ahead and go with it now, like, and keep it the way it is and not try to add any more. I'm going to take it off and continue working on it just for the sake of this video. And then maybe later I might change it some more. I can add, like I said earlier, you can add tulle to it and make it come forward some more, just to make sure you have enough surface. So just check it, make sure it's good and symmetrical. Unless you don't want symmetry, then that's fine. There you go. I just have a basic hairline going on there. And then the back, with the back I'm stopping right there. I don't have too much choice. I'm just gonna go with it. And after we've drawn the hairline, we can remove this wig cap from the doll head and see how it turns out. I'm going to cut this rubber band off. Remember when I put a rubber band over his eyes? And then this hairband is also glued down. I'm going to try to salvage it so I can use it next time, because these things cost more. The little clear ones are disposable. This one I can use again, hopefully. Alright, now here we go. Moment of truth. We're just going to pull it off as gently as we can. Loosen up the plastic. His head cap wants to come off too. There you go. Whee! There it is. There, that's what we have. And look, he's fine. He's perfect underneath. He survived. Okay. And now here we have here's the wig cap. And let's pull the plastic off of it. Very carefully. But the wig cap will generally keep its shape, so don't worry too much. You don't have to be too careful. And that's what we have. It's very, very thin, but it's going to get thicker. I still have some rubber band on it right here, which I would like to remove. When it comes to cutting it, I'm actually going to leave all this stuff on right now. If you have more of it, you might trim, and if you want to trim it, be very generous. Don't cut it on this line. Just have about this much actually, because this is actually good for grabbing while we're sewing hair onto it. So you can have this just to grab, and then your hair might migrate forward. It might migrate beyond the line we drew. So therefore, it's a good idea to just leave it. Here, let's put it back on his head, just to see how it looks still. Is it still good? There you go. See, now he can wear it. And as I was talking about, I keep talking about this, that we might have to extend the wig cap. So I'm not going to cut this. Hopefully I can use it. But just in case like something weird or crazy happens, maybe if I cut it and then wish that I hadn't cut it, as I come to these problems, I will solve it and show it on camera so you can see how I solve it, because there are definitely maneuvers we sometimes have to do to extend the wig cap forward. The next thing that we do before it's time to start actually securing hair to the wig cap is to sew a thread along the line that we drew. I've chosen this is like a flesh colored thread. What I really want is a thread that matches my wig cap, or I want it to match my hair exactly. And I have blonde hair, and I don't exactly have like a thread that matches perfectly. So I've just got this flesh colored one. I guess you'd call it normal skin color. So it kind of matches him. So now I'm going to demonstrate to you the concept of backstitching. And I'm using a very big needle and thread so you can see better on the camera. So we've got our needle threaded, and for this wig cap, and pretty much for all of my backstitching tasks, I like to double the thread and use double. That just makes it real strong. So this is how we tie the knot. Even up your two ends, and then grab it like this between your fingers, wind it around the finger once, and then twist it off of the index finger and pull the tails. And there you have a knot. And it's one of my quirks to clip the tail off so that you don't have like a tail hanging down. That's just what I like to do. It's just my thing. Alright, so to do a back stitch, it's real simple. All you gotta do is come in from the back of the fabric. And there it is. And now we're gonna take one small step backward. That's why it's called a back stitch. And there it is. Now let's go to the back side, and we're going to take one long leap forward. Like that. And then it's going to look like that. That's the back. Now here's back on the front again. We're going to make one small step backward. It's like taking one long step forward, one small step backward. It's like a dance or something. So small step backward. And then on the other side, what I like to do is go between the two threads that you see. Just like that. I feel like that keeps the thread line kind of in order. I'm not sure if that's a rule for backstitching. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. That's just what I do. And so now the front of it looks like that. We have 2 stitches. And then you just keep doing those steps. Now on the back, take another long step forward. Now take a short step backward on the front side. And cut between the threads. And there we have 3 stitches, and now you can do that for as long as you need. Whatever you're doing, just take those steps. One long step forward, one short step back, cut the threads. It's so easy. And then you're going to use that technique to go all the way around the wig cap where you drew your line. See how I traced my pencil line in thread? You're just going to do those steps all the way around, and that's going to give the wig cap some strength. See, there's the underside. Now, to finish off, here's what we do. This is how we tie the knot. I like to go underneath the threads, and also it makes it strong to kind of pick up some fabric threads too. So just go underneath, pick up a little fabric, pick up some threads, pull it through. Now see how we've made a loop right here? Go in the loop. There you have it. And now we've finished it off, and then you can do another one, or you can just kind of snake it underneath just to hide the tail a little bit so maybe it won't come through and come loose again. And that's it, and then you can cut it off. And there you go. We've made a neat little stitch line, and that's what you're going to do all the way around the wig cap pencil lines that you drew. I've went with the stitch line. I like to start at the back and go around and come meet at the back again. And next we are going to start preparing the hair. So stay tuned. See you then.